आपदर्थे धनं रक्षेद्दारान् रक्षेद्धनैरपि आत्मानं सततं रक्षेद्दारैरपि धनैरपि.
Today, let us sit with one of the most practical and quietly profound verses ever composed in Sanskrit. It comes from the very first chapter of the Chanakya Niti, and it goes like this: Aapad arthe dhanam rakshet, daran rakshet dhanerapi, Aatmanam satatam rakshet, dareirapi dhanerapi. Listen to what it says. For times of calamity, guard your wealth, but guard your family even at the cost of that wealth, and guard yourself constantly even at the cost of family and wealth together. Let us first taste the words themselves. The verse opens with Aapad Arthe. The word Aapad means calamity, and it is built from the prefix A, meaning towards, and the root Pad, which means to fall or to step. So, a calamity in Sanskrit is literally that which falls upon you. The language itself is teaching us something. Disaster does not send an invitation, it steps toward you while you are looking elsewhere. Dhanam is wealth, that which is held, that which bears fruit, and rakshet, one should protect, comes from the root raksh, to guard, to watch over. It is the same root you hear in the word raksha, protection. Notice that this word rakshet appears 3 times in the verse, once for each thing to be guarded, like 3 sentries posted on 3 walls. Daran means one's wife, one's family, and here is a lovely quirk of Sanskrit. The word is always grammatically plural, even for one person, as if the language knows that a spouse is never just one relationship, but a whole world of them. And then the great word Atmanam, the self, from the root an, to breathe. This one word stretches all the way from breath to body to life to character to soul. Hold on to that stretch. The whole depth of the verse lives inside it. Now, who is speaking? This is Chanakya, also known as Kautilya, the legendary teacher of Takshashila, who lived around the 4th century before the Common Era. This is the man who watched an arrogant dynasty fall, who trained a young Chandragupta Maurya, and who built one of the greatest empires in Indian history from absolutely nothing. When Chanakya talks about calamity, he is not theorizing. He lived through exile, poverty, and political catastrophe. The Chanakya Niti has no dramatic setting, no battlefield, no dialogue. It is a statesman speaking directly to you, the householder, the student, the leader, saying, when everything is at risk, you must already know what you will save first. Because the person who tries to save everything in a crisis usually loses everything. So, what is the deep architecture of this verse? Picture 3 concentric rings, like the walls of an ancient fort. The outermost wall is wealth, the middle wall is family, the innermost keep is the self. Chanakya's teaching is that the outer walls exist precisely to be sacrificed for the inner ones. And here the grammar delivers a hidden masterstroke. In the first line, wealth is the object of protection. In the very next phrase, wealth becomes the instrument, the means by which family is protected. then family itself becomes the means by which the self is protected. Everything gets demoted from end to means, except one thing. The Aatman, the self, is never the instrument of anything. The self is the one thing in your life that is never a means to some other end. But which self? Here is the beautiful ambiguity. On the surface, the verse says, "Preserve your life," because a living person can rebuild lost wealth and care for family, while a destroyed person can do neither. A drowned rescuer saves no one. But Chanakya chose the word Aatman deliberately. The deeper reading says, guard your character, your integrity, your inner sovereignty. And notice the small word satatam, constantly. Your physical life is threatened only occasionally, but your character is under siege every single day, by small compromises, by flattery, by greed, by resentment. That is why this guard duty alone is described as ceaseless. There is also a paradox here, elegantly resolved. The verse says, save money for calamity, and then immediately says, spend it without hesitation. This is not a contradiction, it is a definition. Wealth is stored sacrifice. You accumulate it precisely so that one day it can be destroyed in your place. The person who cannot spend the emergency fund during the emergency has become the servant of his own servant. This wisdom echoes everywhere. Every airline safety briefing says, secure your own oxygen mask before helping others. That is this verse compressed into one sentence. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that property and reputation are externals, to be traded away calmly, while the inner will must never be surrendered. The Gospels ask, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Modern psychology confirms it too. Research on caregiver burnout shows that people who endlessly sacrifice their own health for others eventually collapse and can care for no one. And modern risk theory says the same thing in mathematics. Never accept a risk of total ruin, because ruin ends the game. Losing money is a setback. Losing the self is ruin. So, how do we live this starting today? Let me offer you 3 questions to carry into your quiet moments. First, where in my life have I inverted the hierarchy? Where am I spending my health or my integrity to protect money or to avoid disappointing someone? Second, could I actually spend my savings in a true emergency, or has the instrument secretly become my master? And third, what is the one small daily compromise that is slowly leaking through my innermost wall? And here is a simple practice. Call it the Three Ring Audit. For the outer ring, make sure a calamity reserve exists, even if you start small today, and write one sentence stating what it is for, so you can spend it without guilt when the day comes. For the middle ring, find one place where money is being hoarded at the expense of your family's well-being, a postponed checkup, a skipped protection, and convert wealth into care this very week. And for the innermost ring, keep 15 minutes every day that belong to the self alone, never traded away for anything. Each night, ask one honest question. Did I sell any piece of myself today, and for what price? Atmanam satatam rakshet. Guard the self constantly, not out of selfishness, but out of stewardship, because the self is the flame from which every other light in your life is lit. Protect the flame, and you protect them all.
आपदर्थे धनं रक्षेद्दारान् रक्षेद्धनैरपि आत्मानं सततं रक्षेद्दारैरपि धनैरपि